Thank you so much, Josh. Really wonderful to be here. Wonderful to be here with all of you. Very exciting to be gathered together and meditating like this. So, as we follow the path of the Sfirot, of counting the Omer in this time period, today is Gvura Shebenetzach, the sense of boundedness, of discipline within this aspect of eternity, of energy, of focus. And so we're going to do practices which explore how we bring energy in a kind of focused way into our practice in life. How do we wake up? How do we become alive? And in particular, what I want us to try to see and notice in our practice, which we're going to be doing the vast majority of this time, is that we can be really dedicated and focused without being tight and striving. We don't need to be tight. We don't need to strive in order to be both dedicated and focused. And in fact, we can do it in ways rather which can be quite light and delightful and opening and still quite concentrating and settling of the mind and the heart and the body. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to touch on sort of three forms of practice within our mindfulness that we'll play with today as we go on. And we'll explore how we might be able to find that Gvura Shebenetzach, that enlivened, energetic sense of concentration in a way that is supportive and open and soft, rather than striving or narrow or tight. So I encourage you just to take a moment to find yourself in the body, to really arrive, to just arrive. Allow your feet to really contact with the floor, your bottom to be in contact with the chair or the cushion wherever you're sitting, your legs to be in contact with the chair or cushion or floor. Just allow that part of your body to become heavy for a moment. On the out breath, allow your body to be heavy and to sink into the ground and the floor. Allow it to hold you up. You don't need to do any work. The ground, the earth is there to support you. Now bring your attention to your lower back and spine. On the inhalation, allow the vertebrae in the lower back and spine to separate and rise towards the ceiling. And on the exhalation, to settle without collapsing on that chair, on that cushion, whatever it is you're sitting on. Then bring your attention to the upper back and spine. On the inhalation, allow the vertebrae in the upper back and spine to separate and rise towards the ceiling. And on the exhalation, to settle without collapsing on the lower back and spine. Bring your attention to your shoulders. On the inhalation, allow the shoulders to go up and back. And on the exhalation, allow them to drop back and down. Allow your elbows to hang heavy from your shoulders and your hands to lie heavy in your lap. Bring your attention to your neck. On the inhalation, just allow the vertebrae in the neck to separate and rise towards the ceiling. And on the exhalation, to settle without collapsing on the spine. Bring your attention to your head, the very top of your head, probably a little bit farther back than you might imagine. And on the inhalation, just imagine that that top of your head is just rising towards the ceiling or the sky, lengthening the back of the neck. And on the exhalation, settling without collapsing on the neck and spine. Bring your attention to your face. Allow the muscles in your face to relax, the forehead to relax, the corners of the eyes to relax, the cheekbones to relax, the jaw muscles to relax. Bring a gentle smile to your face. And now just bring your attention to whatever it is you normally use as your anchor. That might be your breath, maybe the feeling of your feet on the floor. Whatever your normal point of focus is, just take a moment to notice that directly in the body. If you're new, you might just pay attention to the breath. Just observe the sensation of the breath as it moves in and out of the body. Just spend a few moments doing that. I'm going to invite you now to find something pleasant in your immediate experience. It might be opening your eyes and sort of looking around the space you're in and noticing, oh, I can notice there's a painting that's lovely on my wall. It's pleasant for me to look at. It might be noticing a pleasant sound or a pleasant sensation in the body, maybe where your hands touch each other, they touch the legs. Just take a moment to find something that's actually pleasant for you. It's pleasant for you. And when you've found it, I ask you to let your attention rest on that thing which is pleasant for a moment. Just let it rest there. Take it in, enjoy it. Allow yourself to really marinate in the pleasantness. Just notice what that does. Notice what experiences arises in the body. Smiles are welcome if a smile wants to arise. Notice how easy or hard it is to stay with that which is pleasant. So if you found something pleasant and you're staying with it right now, take a moment to now notice, turn your attention towards the experience of pleasantness within the body. Just take a few breaths, take about 5 breaths, where your focus now is on the experience of pleasantness rather than on the pleasant object itself. And then now again, turn towards that pleasant object, seeing it, feeling it, hearing it. If there's nothing sensorily available, it could be an imagined object, somebody you like, or a favorite place of yours, or favorite memory that brings a sense of pleasantness, of joy or delight, or of openness, or just pleasantness. And again, just stay with that object for a moment. Just allow your focus to rest on that object. And allow yourself to notice the sensation of pleasantness. Now, once again, go inside. And notice what pleasantness feels like in the body. And now, one last time, opening towards that pleasant object again. Just allowing your attention to really rest there. If you feel pulled, you might notice a different pleasant object. You might just open your eyes and see where they pull you. Something else you're pulled towards, feel free to turn around, do whatever you need to. Just notice if there's something that holds your attention. It might be a sound again, it might be a bodily sensation. And then just coming back for a moment to your anchor or to the breath, to whatever's available. And just noticing what that feels like right now. Noticing how focused or not focused you are. Notice how much energy is present or not in the system at the moment. Staying with this theme of what may be pleasant and supportive, we're going to shift our focus now to working with what we call the energy body. So bring your attention to your body, to the very edge of your body, skin all around the edge of your body. And see if you can feel a light sense of energeticness just right around the body, just beyond the body, a sense of a kind of field of energy. There may be an imaginative element to this, and that's absolutely fine. Just feeling into a sense of aliveness around the body. Or it may feel like a kind of egg of energy that you're sitting in. A sense of lightness, of openness, of energeticness just beyond the body. See if you can notice that for a few moments. As we inhale, we'll notice that sense of the energy body, the energetic body expand. We're going to allow that expansion and feel that sense of being wide, the width of our experience, the width of the body. And as we exhale, we'll feel a natural tendency to kind of collapse a little bit. And instead, we're going to gently maintain that width. So inhalation, we're going to widen, notice the energy body around the body, the sense of aliveness, tinglingness, energeticness. Exhalation, I'm going to keep on noticing that, but we're also going to maintain the sense of width and expansiveness as the body naturally collapses a little bit as it exhales. Just keep doing that for the next few minutes. Maintaining our energy on the energy body, trying to maintain the sense of width there, the sense of expansiveness. And again, as you do that, notice if there's anything pleasant about it, anything enlivening. And if there is, again, allow yourself to marinate in that. Allow that to grow, allow it to be supportive. There's no force here, it doesn't have to do anything. You're just inclining your mind to notice that aspect of the experience and to allow it to deepen. As you feel that horizontal motion, the widening, you may also feel a vertical motion, the body kind of expanding, rising up on the inhalation. And again, keeping that sense of verticality, energeticness of that energy body, the rising up as well as expanding. Touching that sense of energy just beyond the body, noticing its width, allowing it to stay wide as we exhale, expanding into its wideness as we inhale. What happens when we let go of striving? What if it might support our ability to stay, to persevere, to rest in what is? In a moment, we're going to do a practice where I'm going to ask you some questions. You're just going to notice what arises in response to those questions. You don't need to analyze them. You don't need to think about them. It's going to be sort of a question offered to our hearts and bodies and direct knowing and experience. And just see what arises. See what the experience is. See what it's like in the body, heart, and mind. What is here now when there's no problem to solve? Who is here now when there's no need for the problem solver? What is here now when there's nothing to accomplish, nothing to succeed at, nothing to do? What if you unhooked for a moment from the problem solver part of you? What if you dropped that aspect at the moment? Who is here? What is aware? What is here when there is nowhere to go and nothing to do? Nothing to know or create or become? What is here just now when you are not the problem solver? What is this? What's aware now? Who is aware when there's no problem to solve? What's absent that was here a few minutes ago? What qualities have arisen now as we inquire what and who is here when there's no problem to solve? Where are you aware from? What is this feeling of being? Now, freshly again, we'll inquire one more time. What's here now? Who is here now when there's no problem to solve? Keeping the openness and exploratory nature of those questions with you as we come to an end. You can join me in a closing nigun.
Thanks so much, James. I'd like you to stay with us. James will be answering questions. We'll have a little Q&A shortly, but before we do that, we're going to take a moment for those who are reciting the Mourner's Kaddish to do so. You can join me and you can share in the chat who you are holding in mind and heart as you recite Kaddish today. And Adi will help us and put the text on, and we welcome you to unmute yourself if you'd like to do so and join me. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbi Yalma divra lute yamrich malchute b'chayechon v'yomechon b'chaye b'chol Beit Yisrael Agana u'izman kariv v'imru amen. Hey Shmei Rabba Mevarach Olam Ulamei Omaya Yitvarach V'yishtabach V'yitpar V'yitroman V'yitnaseh Yitzar V'yit'aleh V'yitahala Shmei B'kudasha Brichu Ha'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata V'shmachata V'nechemata Da'amiran Ne'alma V'imru V'imru Amen.
Say shalom.
Hey Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, Hayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Say Shalom B'mamav V'ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'imru Amen. Okay. So if you're staying with us, please feel free to stay here for a few minutes. If you're leaving now, wish you shalom and good health, and hope to see you back here again tomorrow or sometime soon at the same time and channel. And want to give one more plug before we leave, since you just experienced half an hour of learning with and practicing with James, that you have an opportunity to spend a couple of days doing that if you'd like at this upcoming retreat that Or Halev is sponsoring and running May 2nd and 3rd. So we'll put that link back in the chat if you could do that. James, thank you for that wonderful set. I'm curious, you had us exploring these sort of energies, different levels of energy. And I wonder for you, how that, if you want to just more explicitly, if you want to connect that sort of inner and outer energy you're just surrounding with the midah for today in the Omer of Gvura Benetzach, how you, if you want to explore a little more or explain the connection there that you see, and that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Josh. So the quality for Gvura Benetzach, we think about Gvura often as a sense of boundedness, as a sense of holding. In our meditation practice, Gvura is the ability of concentration, what allows us to stay on the meditation object, right? So, you stay with the breath and then you get distracted and you come back, you get distracted and you come back. And Netzach, I know we've been exploring here as a sense of effervescentness, of energy, of timelessness, right? And even one thing I encourage you to check out in your experiences, if in the practice you just did, were there experiences of a sign of timelessness in there? And what I wanted to try to have us see today is that when we think about Gvura, what we often think about is a kind of efforting. It's like I need to pull the mind back to the breath. I need to force it in there. I need to make this, I need to strive to make sure I'm on target, I'm on focus, and the mind is staying. And what I want to suggest, again, you each had your own experience, but I want to encourage you to explore what you might have experienced today, is that we used actually other methods to allow the mind to stay. What I'll suggest is that you might have noticed when you're noticing pleasantness, for instance, that for some of us, and that's not true for all of us, and it depends on our experience of pleasantness, the mind can be quite stable with that pleasantness without a lot of effort. When we notice the energy body, right, there's not a lot of tightness in there, it's quite open, and yet the mind can kind of settle there. And in fact, in the last practice, what I was trying to help you see there is that when we actually give up the whole intention of striving or fixing or problem solving, ironically enough, from our sort of normal way of looking at things, the mind actually settles more, which you may have seen. It's like you notice that if you keep that up, the mind actually settles more and it rests in a very easy, effortless way. Right? So when we think about this Gvura Benetzach, we think about how we settle, how we concentrate, how we find calm, how we find presence. I want to encourage us to see that it's not about a process of forcing ourselves into it, but precisely about a process of finding those sweet spots of kind of letting go and release, which allows the mind to settle and therefore maintain really Gvura, maintain that sense of balance and presence and sort of boundedness and stay in one place without getting lost.
There's a bunch of questions that have come through actually as you were talking, really interesting. On the question of pleasantness here, Heidi asked the question, is enjoy or pleasure like too strong or heavy for this teaching, when you're talking about the notion of the experience of pleasantness, which is so interesting to like be in it and then like let's get above it and reflect on that.
Definitely not. Enjoy and pleasure can be great, and it can even go to bliss. You can have bliss experiences as part of this. But I use the word pleasantness precisely because it doesn't have to be that at all. It can be very mild and very simple. It can be as simple as often for me when I do it, for instance, just be the feeling of the air on my cheek. For me, that's pleasant. It's not like, oh my God, that's so pleasant. That's a huge thing. It's just like, that's nice. That's it. That's all it has to be. That simple. And One of the important things about it is that what we often forget is we're having those kinds of experiences all the time. All the time. Basically, any moment of the day, you could stop and check in what's pleasant right now. And
Right.
for most of us, most of the time, there's going to be some light, pleasant experience there, right? Doesn't have to be a big deal, just some simple thing. And we can use that to center us and ground us.
Mm.
When it does get stronger, what we want to be careful with is not the pleasantness, which is fine, but the grasping after the pleasantness. So if we start to grasp and start to want that to stay, then actually what it'll do is it'll throw the mind off, right? The mind will not
Mm-hmm.
be able to settle as soon as the grasping comes in.
Mm-hmm. And Mira has a question here about about the energy body,
Yeah.
and if you want to just sort of say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the energy body, I really want us to think about it as just a way of kind of seeing. It's just a way of seeing. It's not about, don't take this as like some kind of ontological or metaphysical thing, maybe it's there, maybe it's not there. I have no idea, right? It's just a way of inclining our mind to seek out a certain kind of experience, a certain way of viewing and relating to our experience that for many people, again, this may not be the case for you, but for many people, allows that kind of expansiveness and pleasantness to settle. It allows the mind to settle. So I wouldn't make too big a deal of it, right? It's just one technique. It's just one way of seeing that might allow us to see things in a certain way that allows the mind to settle and open in a certain way and see another quality, kind of energetic sense to the body. And again,
Mm-hmm.
as we develop that, one of the benefits of developing, I'll say, is not only that sense of calmness, but as we get more and more in touch with the body and we read, we could call it energetic, we could call it emotional, we could call it many things, but we read the somatic experience of the body, right? That helps us to be balanced and clear and wise. We start to be able to see when emotions are arising. We start to be able to see when the body starts to tighten and we get trapped. And there's more wisdom and capacity and freedom around that when we get more attuned to those aspects of our system.
Mm. And I think that actually answers, there was a question here, Deborah asked about what were the steps that you gave us at the beginning? And as I recall them, you'll correct me, but I think it was, you basically had us doing a form of a body scan, working up, noticing how each part was sort of moving up as we breathe and then settling, but then not collapsing onto the part below it. And so we were working basically from the tuchus, up through the head, as I recall.
Exactly.
Tell me if I got that wrong. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. So this question from Jan, I think, is really interesting. Jan points out, it's hard to tell if I felt openness or emptiness without a main purpose, which is a really interesting thought. I don't know if you want to think about that for a minute.
I don't know, maybe Jen, you can write in the chat. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Emptiness, of course, has a lot of meanings. In our practice, that's a very positive quality. I don't know if you mean in a positive way or if you mean in a negative way. So maybe you can, fill us in.
We'll give Jan. We can give Jan a minute to write that in. There was in a negative way. Okay, there we go.
So what I'd say is, you want to explore the texture of it, right? So if it's in a negative way, usually what that means is it feels detached in some way, right? I'm detached, I'm separated from. And if that's the case, then in fact, what we want to try to do often is to re-engage with the sense of pleasantness and connection, right? So we're not going for detached, right? Detached in that sense is actually a kind of larger discussion, but that kind of detachment is actually a kind of pushing away of our experience, actually, right? So openness, when it's really openness, it should feel vibrant, it should feel alive, and it should feel pleasant, and it should feel loose, right? It should feel kind of loose and soft. And that's another reason why being in touch with our somatic experience is so crucial, because it's actually a kind of calibrator. It allows us to check in and see, where's my practice right now? Is this wise and helpful at the moment? Or am I going a bit wrong right now? And if I'm going a bit wrong, how do I know that? Because I can see what's happening in the body and I can come back and I can kind of recalibrate the body. I can notice I'm getting detached. I'm going to reconnect. I'm going to really pay attention to this particular moment at this time.
It's interesting to think about attachment and detachment as expressions of chesed and gevura and their various permutations, right? Like that's kind of always what we're doing, is modulating or calibrating, right? What type of attachment, what quality of attachment, what quality of detachment is sort of what you're getting at.
That's right. And what I'd say is sort of between that, if we can talk about, Tiferet in the middle, like if we're going for ultimately for the right connection, what we're going for is loving, passionate non-attachment, which may be words that may seem strange that they go together even, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to say is non-attachment is totally different from detachment. Detachment is I'm not involved. I'm not. There's something pushing away here, right? Separate. Non-attachment is I'm totally involved and I'm caring, but I'm not enchained. I'm not locked. If it doesn't turn out that way, I'll also be okay. So there's passion, there's care, there's love, and there's a sense of openness and freedom.
Which also, to me, I mean, it sounds a lot like the experience of parenting or the experience of being in a marital relationship or any kind of relationship,
Yes.
right? Is exactly,
Yes.
exactly what you're describing.
And I think exactly in that way, I mean, in my experience, again, you'll all tell me your experiences, but I know when I sort of get attached to my role as father, for instance, I start to get nervous about things like, how do I look if my kids are going to do X, Y, and Z, right? Like, which is not good for them and not good for me and not good for anybody, If I really care about them and what's best for them, but I'm non-attached to my role, to being seen a certain way, then it's much more easy, then it's much more loving, then I'm much more wise about what's really going to serve them at this moment.
Great. All right, I think that's a good place for us to leave it. And I know it's later for you than it is for us here in the States. Thank you again for a wonderful, wonderful sit. Thank you to everybody for coming today. And we look forward to having you back tomorrow, same time and channel. So thank you.